All right, let's talk about it. So, if you are watching this on any other platform besides TikTok, TikTok allows for longer videos, so you can just go watch it there, and you can find that link in my bio somewhere, depending on where you're watching this. All right? So, first of all, I was concerned about this particular eclipse because it is a Libra. This last one on October 14th was a Libra eclipse on the South Node, and that was happening in my fifth house right here. And fifth house has to do with creativity, possibly children, that's my kitty. Also with sex, pleasure, romantic experiences, relationships that are not quite so serious as like maybe marriage, right? So just to give you some context. Now, if you notice, my moon over here, that's my natal chart, is at 22 degrees. And the eclipse, the new moon eclipse, was happening at 21 degrees in the same sign. And also, I have Mercury that is 1 degree away from my Pluto, and my moon and Pluto are conjunct. So, what the fuck does all of this mean, right? So I saw this, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I wonder how this is going to actually play out. Given I look at what's happening in my life and what could be occurring in that particular area of my life, that's what houses are for. Houses are there to tell you, like, more information about where these themes might be showing up, right? And so I to not get too terribly personal, but personal enough so that you guys can understand like how you can start to look at this is I happen to have a particular person in my life that I thought was like we had had a thing in the past and I thought that it was going to like maybe come to fruition. And it seemed like it was going that way and then it did a 180 out of nowhere without any explanation, without my input, without anything, right? So this is what when people talk about eclipses being just kind of out of nowhere, very unexpected, like ushering in things, ushering things out, and it's like great beginnings, great endings. This is the kind of stuff they're talking about, right? So it depends on your chart. It depends on where the actual eclipse is hitting your chart. Is it actually hitting a point in your chart where you have planets? Because then it's going to be more prominent. It's going to be more felt, especially if there are any planets there that are personal planets. My moon there is one of the most personal. It's not a planet, but it's like one of the most personal celestial bodies, right? If it had been hitting maybe my eighth house, I'd be like, okay, eighth house topics, but I don't have any planets there, and it's not going to be going over the same exact goddamn degrees that it is in my most sensitive area of my particular chart, right? So that's one way to distinguish, is this particular eclipse or a retrograde or whatever you're looking at, is it going to perhaps land in a more personal way than it will for other people based on what is happening in your chart, what house is it in, are there planets that are there in your natal chart. I hope that this makes sense. So let me try to go through this quickly. So shortly before this eclipse, just a few days before, we had Mars was going through this same area that the eclipse was going through. Mars can be around severing, right? It can be can be very much like severing. Let's just say that as one of the things, right? Where all planets, all signs, all everything has like positive and negative sides to it, like shadow and light, right? And so it's not to be judged, just what is. So that's when I was delivered this blow, was right when Mars was going through that area, and then it hit me an intensified level a little bit harder. And like the most sensitive place in your chart, like your emotions, your really internal space being the moon, and Pluto can be those the underbelly, like these skeletons in the closet, or these like really intense places in our charts that feel taboo, that feel instinctually scary or like too much, or have to do with pain or trauma or things of that nature. And so to have that already in somebody's chart, like Moon Pluto, let's just say that that's really sensitive, but to have an eclipse that is about release because it's the South Node, and that has to do with relationships because of the Libra effect, and then also having to do with communication because the Mercury was going right over the same area. So you have like all of these just kind of like moving through, essentially punctuating. So my phone got cut off for some reason, but essentially punctuating those points, plus being in the fifth house. So I feel like this is really clear to me, but also I just live in astrology land all day, every day right now because I'm still like absorbing and studying and progressing and, continuing to grow. So if this doesn't make sense to you, if you don't see the, oh, of course connection, let me know in the comments. Just be like, can you explain that more? Can you talk about like, if you have a particular placement in your chart and you're just like, can you look at my chart and just be like, how did this eclipse hit my chart because I'm feeling it? I'm curious, like let me know. I'm not going to do full-on readings for free, but I'm happy to look at it. I just think this is really fascinating. So yeah, it's been really intense, Pluto, really emotional, Moon. It's been a lot of having to relinquish control, South Node, and let go and allow things to come into a rebalancing on their own without my input, without my say so. So, there we have like the Libra, the South Node, and the eclipse and everything. So I think it's really clear. I just think it's really interesting. Let me know if that actually seems clear or helpful to you. Like I said, I am going to put out videos which I may or may not get done before the holidays, that are just instructive, short little videos so that when myself or other people are saying like, hey, this is what's happening in the astrology, look at where this sign is in your chart and the house that it matches, you can take a look at your chart very easily, like a little cookbook, and you can be like, oh, these themes are probably what's going to be up for me during this period of time. And I want that to be practical and useful and helpful, because before starting to study astrology and go down all the rabbit holes, this shit was confusing or overwhelming, or I didn't even realize how much you could really know. And this is literally the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more, and that's why I'm continuing to study. So I hope this is helpful in some way. Let me know. Like, even if it's not your chart, or even if it's not about whether this makes sense, I'm just curious. How are you guys dealing with this, like, eclipse season? We have another one on the 28th, and I'm definitely putting out a video for that. I have astrology highlights on my YouTube videos, so you can go check those out, so that I like talk about the astrology, but like I'm putting together the next week of astrology for this next eclipse, and with everything happening in the world, with the wars and everything, seems pretty interesting. So I'll see you in the next video. So thanks for sticking with me in this long ass video. It's the first time I've actually done a longer form video on TikTok. So, and if you're looking at this, came here through some other form, honestly, the best ways to stay in touch with me are generally Instagram and YouTube, but I'm trying to make more stuff here on TikTok. So anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.